So I'm Kevin Andrews from Ideaworks. Started the company 40 years ago. We're now a team of 180 plus people based mainly in Europe, but we do work in the States and all over the world because about 60% of our business is super yachts and the rest 40% is residential, high-end residential. I'm a lighting designer. So I started a lighting design business when people traditionally didn't pay lighting designers, so it was a poor business idea. So we did a lot of different things. And we did audiovisual and we did multi-room, and we always wove lighting into everything that we did. We used to manufacture lighting control systems. We were one of the first Crestron dealers outside of the US. So we've kind of been embedded in the home technology and integration business, which is what I prefer to call it than smart home. So we're in our experience center. It's where everyone calls these things experience centers, but for us it was more an educational space when we opened it 12 years ago. This is the orbit room. We're on a turntable here. It allows us to create different scenarios for the room. So here we've got screens exactly the same size as the direct view screen, so you get the same experience. So this turntable is by a company called Boomat in Germany, an amazing fourth generation engineering company who make turntables that turn diesel locomotives round. A video wall over here which is using the latest Ventana panels, which is a 300 by 300 square panel, 15 millimeters thick. There's 80 of them there that build into a giant video wall. People can experience the difference. People who are film people will appreciate sitting in the dark and having a real cinematic experience. People who are sports fans will appreciate the lights are up, the screen's big and bright, and they're watching sports on it. Because very little that we do is seen, we have a whole wall behind here, which is our selector wall of the things that people do see. The one that we find ourselves using the most is this. So this is a combination. So this is light switch. So turn the lights on, turn the lights off, select scenes. You can see the scenes go, but also it can be temperature. So I can turn the temperature up or down, or I can close the curtains or open the curtains. I can even turn the volume up and down on the audio. So all of these things are pretty traditional. So there's lots of kind of traditional switches here, and we see that at high-end homes. People might put in a traditional range of switches, or you end up with keypads with loads of buttons. So we're always looking to make sure people get the feel of switches before they make the selection. It's not just done visually. I don't think a week passes when I don't find something interesting that I haven't seen before. We've done a lot with a brand called Colux, who make what we think is the most effective skylight in the world. We've worked with them for 12 years now. A team of Italian laser physicists set themselves the task of recreating daylight. And what we have here is almost their first model that was seen outside of their laboratories. As you can see, there's a big square in the ceiling, and when you look up, the sun is in the sky. It's at an infinite distance. It moves in a parallax, so you can see as it would do. But what I'm standing in is sunlight, and you'll see the shadow is very much as you would be if it was sunlight. You'll also see that the shadow is blue because the light is composed of two things. There's the sunlight and there's the skylight, and that blue is coming from the energy. So what we have up here isn't a piece of blue glass. What we have up here is sky, is the atmosphere, and it's doing what the Rayleigh effect does. It's scattering that blue, just as the sky does. So that first panel that we saw is a giant box. It's 1 meter deep and 3 meters long, and not the most practical of installations. And this is the latest version from Colux. This is 2 of their units. They're 200 mil deep and only as big as you see. They still have the sun. You still get the real impact of daylight in a space. And most people who walk into these spaces, you don't tell them that there's fake skylight, just believe it's daylight. And it happens a lot. So when a yacht gets very big, then the internal spaces without windows get big too. So bringing a sense of daylight into a space in a way that doesn't feel false. There are incredible testaments to the skill that still exists. Not everything's just made in a machine. You'll see in the this Experience Center here, this is all about textures and acoustics. Lots of different acoustic treatments in here. When people start talking about audio, we always start talking about acoustics. I'd rather sell £100,000 worth of acoustics than £500 worth of speakers. The acoustics are there forever, and that room will always sound good. And we're surrounded here by Anna Kira Quinn's beautiful acoustic treatments. She does amazing things with leather and felt, which do things both beautifully for light, but also acoustically. When you walk into a library, you know, that kind of feeling that the room kind of wraps around. We're always talking to clients about how could we integrate some kind of acoustic softening in this space to make the room sound great, irrespective of whether there's any speakers in there. Same with lighting. You know, how are we going to make that space feel comfortable during the day in a way that we have to treat the space completely different in the evening, and how do we make that feel comfortable? For us, screens that are just televisions are ugly, but digital surfaces which can be engaging visual are wonderful. And we're finding more and more places where we're building bigger and bigger visual displays in spaces which can take on the look and feel of the room. Over 40 years, we've built up a very loyal client base. I think that most clients interact with us through a team. A lot of business comes that way, and we get inquiries all the time from architects, interior designers, who are really leading the design of the project. We love to get involved really early on that basis because we want to be an integral part of the design team from the outset. And we're used to the process taking a long time. You know, we're used to projects taking 2, 3, 4, 5 years in planning. Lighting is one of those often ignored topics. Sometimes clients don't even know that they care about lighting. They walk into a great space which is beautifully lit. They see that. They don't necessarily, what they see is, because light's invisible, and that's why space is dark. Light only becomes visible when it hits a surface. So a beautiful room filled with beautiful fabrics and finishes, beautifully lit, looks like a room full of magic, but no one really necessarily ties that to lighting. And it's hard for clients because a lot of the time people are saying, what do you want? And they don't know. They want to be told what's possible, what's potential. They want to know right up front how much those things might cost so that they can attach some value to it. And we may just kick around some concepts and some ideas for a while whilst they get a feel for whether they want to work with us. Most of the questions we ask are to try to elicit how they're going to use the home. We're going to know, you know, what side of the bed they sleep on, what if they read in bed at night, you know, where the staff are going to live, you know, where are they generally going to eat, where will they want to make tea in the middle of the night, you know, intimate stuff that we get to learn about them. So we're trying to find out what the client wants to experience in the house, not what technology they want to use. So we have lots of sectors within the business, and we work in a slightly different way in the market with each sector. So the audiovisual thing, I think, is becoming less critical because the wiring infrastructure is becoming simple. It's a network cable. But throwing in lighting and lighting control, that's hard if we miss it from the beginning. So those are the primary ones. We also have a team who do window shading and lighting. We call it part of our lighting control because window shades are lighting control. So we have a nice team that do really understand the fabrics and understand how the technology needs to work. I think we have the biggest aftercare team in the industry. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't make me think is on our website. And I think that's most clients will say, I don't want to think about it when I come home, I just want to live it. Because technology is not an investment. Technology is the running cost. You know, anyone who tells people you're going to buy this stuff and it's going to go in your house and it's going to last forever, you know what? It doesn't. So Ideaworks is ideaworks.co.uk. We're on the internet, guess what? And you can easily just contact us through the website.